Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we are diving into one of the most controversial international stories involving South Africa in recent memory. Former US President Donald Trump has reportedly approved the resettlement of 49 Afrikaner South Africans as refugees in the United States, a move that has sparked outrage, support, confusion, and a flood of political speculation. This decision, while not officially confirmed by the US government in a public statement, has reportedly come after sustained lobbying by minority rights groups. According to those close to the case, the 49 individuals are alleged to have faced egregious violence and persecution in South Africa, particularly in rural farming areas. Sources say the measure was prompted by urgent humanitarian concerns. But not everyone agrees with that assessment. Let's break down what we know and explore the deeper context behind this explosive development. Dr. Landau, a representative involved in this refugee case, claims the group was subjected to threats that made their lives in South Africa untenable, including land invasions, farm attacks, and rising insecurity in isolated rural areas. These claims are nothing new. For years now, various advocacy groups, mostly abroad, have argued that white farmers in South Africa, especially Afrikaners, face disproportionate levels of violence and that they are victims of systemic neglect or even targeted ethnic persecution. However, these claims remain highly controversial. The South African government has repeatedly denied that there is any systemic persecution of white farmers. Officials argue that rural crime affects all communities, black, white, colored, and Indian, and that violence in farming areas is part of a broader national crime crisis rather than race-based targeting. That said, the perception of vulnerability among some in the Afrikaner community has grown steadily. High-profile farm attacks, some involving brutal violence, have left many white farmers feeling isolated and fearful. It's this narrative that has now found sympathetic ears in international political circles, particularly in the United States under Trump's influence. It's not the first time Trump has expressed concern about white South African farmers. Back in 2018, he tweeted that he was asking his Secretary of State to investigate farm seizures and the large-scale killing of farmers in South Africa. The tweet was met with fierce criticism, and South African officials dismissed it as misinformation fueled by right-wing media. But this new development takes things to another level. It's one thing to express concern, it's another to actually grant refugee status, especially to a group as politically sensitive as white South Africans. It raises critical questions about refugee policy, diplomatic intent, and racial dynamics in international humanitarian law. Supporters of Trump's decision say it's a long overdue response to what they describe as an ignored crisis. They argue that these individuals face genuine danger, and that international refugee laws are supposed to protect all vulnerable groups, regardless of skin color or national origin. They see the move as a moral stand for human rights, especially for a minority community they feel has been abandoned by its own government. But critics argue that the decision is politically motivated, and possibly racially selective. They point out that South Africa has millions of people, mostly black, living under the constant threat of gang violence, corruption, service delivery failure, and political instability. So why are 49 white Afrikaners being singled out for international protection? Why not the many black South Africans who face daily life-threatening conditions in informal settlements? This is the core controversy. Are Afrikaner farmers being targeted because of their race, or are they just part of the broader rural crime crisis? And even if they are vulnerable, does that justify refugee status in a country like the United States, thousands of kilometers away? Then there's the issue of transparency. The process by which these 49 individuals were chosen has not been made public. We don't know what criteria were used, what kind of vetting occurred, or what specific evidence was presented to justify refugee status. This lack of clarity has left the door wide open to criticism, speculation, and suspicion. From a diplomatic perspective, This move could complicate relations between South Africa and the United States. Pretoria is unlikely to appreciate the implication that it is either unwilling or unable to protect its own citizens. If Trump's camp continues to push this narrative, it could trigger a formal diplomatic response. The South African government has every reason to protect its international image, particularly in an election year when questions of race, land reform, and social inequality are front and center. But there's also a broader social context here. Afrikaners are a complex community in post-apartheid South Africa. While some remain wealthy and influential, others have slid into poverty and disillusionment. There's a growing class of poor whites who feel left out of South Africa's transformation project, caught between the legacy of privilege and the realities of modern-day economic hardship. These 49 individuals may represent more than just isolated cases. They may be the symbolic tip of a much deeper crisis of identity, trust, and security. Still, the decision to offer them refuge in America raises uncomfortable questions. Are Western countries only interested in refugee protection when the victims are white? Would the same level of urgency apply if these 49 people were from rural Eastern Cape, Limpopo, or Mpumalanga, and black? The situation forces us to reflect on whose pain is recognized on the global stage. It's about more than just farm attacks or land debates. It's about who gets to claim victimhood, who receives international sympathy, and how race still shapes global power dynamics. As the 49 Afrikaners begin new lives in the United States, we must ask, is this a one-time event, or the beginning of a new trend in asylum politics? Will it inspire others in similar situations to apply for refugee status, and if so, will they be accepted? And most importantly, what message does this send to South Africa itself? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Do you believe these 49 Afrikaners truly qualified as refugees? Was this a humanitarian move or a political one? What does this mean for South Africa's image internationally? If you found this video insightful, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. We'll continue unpacking these complex stories that impact both South Africa and the world. Thanks for watching, and as always, see you time.